Have you ever felt a chill run down your spine, not from the cold, but from a story so strange it seems to defy reality itself? A story where the known laws of our world break down, leaving only questions and an unsettling silence. Tonight, we journey into the heart of one such mystery, a place where the line between fact and the inexplicable blurs into a frozen nightmare. In the winter of 1959, in the remote Ural mountains of the Soviet Union, a group of 9 experienced hikers set out on a challenging expedition. They were young, skilled, and full of life, led by Igor Dyatlov. Their goal was to trek through the unforgiving northern wilderness and conquer a Torten mountain. They were supposed to send a telegram upon their return. That telegram never came. This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident, an event so bizarre and terrifying that over 60 years later, it remains one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries in modern history. The journey began on January 27th. The group was in high spirits, documenting their adventure in diaries and photographs. We can see their smiles, their camaraderie, their confidence against the vast white landscape. They were experts, comfortable in this harsh environment. The early entries in their journals speak of the magnificent, albeit severe, beauty of the mountains. They describe the biting wind, the deep, pristine snow, and the profound silence of the Siberian winter. Everything was going according to plan. On February 1st, they began the descent towards Torten. As weather conditions worsened, with heavy snowfall and decreasing visibility, they deviated west and found themselves on the slope of a different mountain, Kolotsyako, a name that in the local Mansi language means dead mountain. A chilling premonition, perhaps. It was here they decided to make camp for the night, a decision that would seal their fate. What happened next is a puzzle pieced together from the silent evidence they left behind. Imagine the scene: a lone tent pitched on a desolate, windswept slope. The temperature outside plunged to -30 degrees Celsius. Inside, the hikers were settling in for the night, having finished their evening meal. The silence of the mountain was absolute, broken only by the howling wind. Then, something happened. Something so terrifying it caused them to do the unthinkable. Rescuers, who finally reached the site on February 26th, were met with a scene of utter confusion. The tent was half torn down and covered with snow. But it wasn't torn from the outside. It had been sliced open, deliberately, from within. The hikers' belongings, their boots, their warm coats, and their supplies were all neatly arranged inside. But the hikers themselves were gone. Leading away from the tent were sets of footprints in the snow. 8 or 9 sets, heading downhill towards a nearby forest. The footprints were baffling. Some were from bare feet, others only in socks, a few in a single shoe. In a landscape where frostbite could claim a life in minutes, why would 9 experienced mountaineers abandon the shelter of their tent and flee into the freezing darkness, so inadequately dressed? It was an act of sheer desperation. What could possibly have frightened them so badly that facing the Arctic night seemed like the better option? The search party followed the tracks. They led them down the slope almost a mile to the edge of a dense forest. There, under a large, ancient cedar tree, they made their first grim discovery. The bodies of 2 of the hikers, Yuri Krivonashenko and Yuri Doroshenko. They were dressed only in their underwear. Their hands were burned and scraped, and the branches of the cedar tree above them were broken up to 5 meters high, suggesting they had desperately tried to climb it, perhaps to escape something on the ground or to get a better view. Nearby were the remains of a small, hastily made fire. 300 meters from the cedar, back towards the tent, the body of Igor Dyatlov, the group leader, was found. He was lying on his back, his face towards the camp, one hand clutching a birch branch, as if he had been trying to crawl back to the shelter, he had so frantically fled. Not far from him, two more bodies were discovered, Zinata Kolmogorova and Rustam Slobodin. Their positions also suggested they were attempting a desperate return to the tent. They died of hypothermia. At this point, the official explanation seemed simple, albeit tragic. They had gotten lost in the storm and frozen to death. But 4 hikers were still missing. The search continued for 2 more months. It was only when the spring fall began to melt the deep snow that the remaining 4 were found, buried in a ravine 75 meters from the cedar tree. And this is where the story takes a turn from a tragic accident to a deeply disturbing mystery. Unlike the first 5 who died from the cold, these 4 had suffered horrific, violent injuries. Nicholas the Bobrinolas had a massive skull fracture. Lyudmila Dubinina and Semyon Zolotaryev had multiple, major chest fractures. The doctor who examined them stated the force required to cause such damage was equivalent to being hit by a car. Yet there were no external wounds, no soft tissue damage, as if they had been crushed by an immense, overwhelming pressure. Furthermore, Dubinina was missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her lip. The Soviet authorities who investigated the case were stumped. They tested the hikers' clothing and found that some of it contained significant levels of radioactive contamination. Where did it come from? The area was known for secret military tests, but the government denied any activity at that time. The final report was brief and cryptic. It concluded that the hikers died as a result of a compelling unknown force. The case was then abruptly closed and classified, the file sealed away from the public for decades. The official explanation left a void, which has since been filled with countless theories. Was it a military weapons test gone wrong? Did the hikers stumble upon a secret Soviet experiment, forcing their silent elimination? The radiation and violent, internal injuries could support this. Others suggest an avalanche. An avalanche could explain the need to cut their way out of the tent and flee. But investigators found no signs of an avalanche. The tent itself wasn't buried, and the footprints were clearly visible. The pattern of their flight didn't match a typical avalanche response. Could it have been an attack by the local Mansi people for trespassing on sacred land? This was an early theory, but it was quickly dismissed. The nature of the injuries was inconsistent with a human attack, and there were no other footprints besides those of the hikers. And then there are the more unsettling theories. Theories that step into the realm of the paranormal. Some point to reports from other campers in the region who saw strange, bright orange spheres floating in the sky on the very night the hikers perished. Were they witnesses to something not of this world? The bizarre injuries, the missing tongue, the inexplicable terror that drove them from their tent. Some argue these elements point to an encounter with something utterly alien. Or perhaps the answer lies in infrasound, a low-frequency sound that can't be heard by the human ear but can induce intense feelings of panic, dread, and nausea. Could a strange, natural weather phenomenon have generated an infrasound wave, driving the group into a state of temporary madness? Over 60 years have passed. The files have been declassified. The site has been revisited, but the truth remains buried under the Siberian snow. Every piece of evidence seems to contradict another. Every logical explanation has a flaw. The official cause of death, a compelling unknown force, is perhaps the most honest and most terrifying conclusion. It acknowledges that what happened on that frozen slope is beyond our current understanding. The Dyatlov Pass Incident is more than just a ghost story told around a campfire. It's a stark reminder that there are corners of our world where the rules don't apply, where nature holds secrets we may never unravel. It's a testament to the fact that sometimes the most horrifying monster is the one we can't see, the one we can't explain. The silence of Dead Mountain holds the truth, and it's a silence that continues to haunt us. What do you believe happened to the 9 hikers on that fateful night? The story is full of contradictions, and the truth seems just out of reach. Share your theories and thoughts in the comments below. If you found this journey into the unknown as compelling as we did, please give this video a like and subscribe for more explorations into the world's greatest mysteries. Thanks for watching.